Hey, dreamers, and welcome to Dreamers Unite, the talk show for dreamers. Well, we are live today on YouTube and on Facebook. Yes. If you are on this channel for the first time, well, we talk about how do we manifest our dreams, right? How do we reach a goal, through life's ups and downs? How do we live our best life to be our best self? And on this show, we share stories. And through those stories, we learn do's and don'ts. We learn the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. So today is so special because this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And also the guest that I have today, Tina Zaremba. She
Hey.
is, yay. She is a very, very dear friend. And today she has launched her new podcast series, Chemo Stories. Tina Zaremba is not only my friend, she is a voiceover artist, a professional talker, as she calls herself. She is a mom and a wife, and she is just so much more. So I can't wait for you to meet her. She is going to share her cancer journey. She is a cancer survivor. And Tina, I am so happy, girlfriend, that you
Hey.
are on this planet. So
Mm,
welcome, 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 Tina Zaremba to Dreamers Unite.
Thank you, Sherri. I'm honored, thrilled to be here.
Yeah, and I am thrilled to have you. So let's start off with your cancer journey, your diagnosis,
hmm
and how did you take the news? How did you react?
Um, well, I think I froze. A lot of it was this can't be happening. This isn't my life. And the funny thing is, a girlfriend of mine actually reminded me when I shared with her that I told her I was always afraid that I was going to get cancer. Uh,
Mm,
so, geez, if words and thoughts are hold weight to them, that was one humdinger. But yeah, I completely froze, and it was a very out of body experience when I found out.
yeah, and I mean to hear those words, right? You have cancer, but you are
Mhm.
proof that you can beat it and you can survive. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can move through it and be stronger and, have some serious street cred after that, as my girlfriend says, who went through this as well.
Yeah. How did you tell your family?
Well, Michael, I told him, right away. He knew when I went
Mm,
to the doctors to have them. Thought I was getting a cyst drained, and when they
uh,
told me that the cyst was gone, that there was something else there, it was very obvious that that they were concerned. They were doing a needle biopsy, and just their faces just told me this is not good. And so I kind of knew the whole weekend. That was on Friday, so I had the whole weekend to freak. And then Monday, when I got the news, I just called him. I was, just walking and told him, and just was walking. And yeah, he's a rock. And,
yeah.
he was my rock, is my rock. My son, it was a little different. He's,
And how did you tell your son? How old is your son? So you can tell our viewers.
yep, he's 10. He was 9 then. And that, yeah.
Mm,
That, you can plan things. I used to love to plan things before all of this, like really liked things planned down to a T. And I thought I was going to have this perfect plan as to how I was going to tell Jack. And, I spoke to the therapist at Sloan. I was going to speak to another therapist, yada, yada, yada. And it
mhm.
just didn't happen that way. I had a double mastectomy after um, my well, no, during when they took the cancer out, they removed both my breasts, and I thought that I was just gonna have, hormone therapy, right? Because they said this
Mhm.
is very early stage. It doesn't look like any lymph node involvement, but when my little lymph nodes lit up, so that changed the whole plan. And
Mhm.
I went home, they give you these drains to drain the fluid, and I told my son they were taking something bad out of me, but I did not say anything else. And, I come home with these drains and I'm really not saying much about it. He can probably sense, and I look like an alien with, I don't know, 4 8 drains, like udders hanging with fluid. It was gross. It was, oh my
Bad.
God. And he was having temper tantrum after temper tantrum. And finally, I just, like, without talking to my husband, my mother was there, without talking to anyone, I went in the room and I just looked him in the eyes and I said, "Look, I know you're really scared right now. Um, and I am too. I am going to have to take some medicine that's going to make my hair fall out, but
Mhm.
we will get through this and I will get better." And, his experience of cancer was, we had a family member that was close that unfortunately passed of cancer. And so he
Yeah.
freaked out and shut himself in the closet for like
Oh,
3 hours. But
wow.
one thing I did get from, well, I got a lot from Sloan, but the counselor there said to me, when you talk to children about cancer, explain to them that it's like fruit. It really means nothing because there's so
Mhm.
many different types of cancer, so many different types of breast cancer. So
Yeah.
I said to him, "Look, some cancers like watermelons, some cancers like blueberries, and mine is more like a blueberry or a cherry. It's very small and it's gone, but to make sure it doesn't come back, they're going to give me strong medicine." So that's how I told Jack, and it was rough for a while, you know.
I can only imagine. How did you, because I know your mom, I know your family, of course, we've been
Mm,
friends for so long.
yeah.
We go back, girlfriend, in your wedding, all that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mm.
pregnant with Hunter.
I remember
So I
that.
know how emotional your mom is. Uh,
Mhm.
in a good way, mom. You know what I'm saying? In the best way. I want to let you
Yeah.
know. Um, so how did you share? And your sister too,
Yeah,
right?
I did not. So I told my dad first, and
Okay.
he, who is actually like the most kind of not as expressive in my
Mhm.
family, he was the most like emotional and
Mhm.
like he sounded like he was hyperventilating. I was like, oh my God. And then when I told my sister, who's very, you've known Nicole, very strong and sort of marathon runner, very successful in her career. And she broke down. I was like, oh dear God. So I decided I'm not telling my mom. And I had my sister tell my mom with my stepfather. And that was a good thing because then my mom was processed. And when she was with me, she was just, I mean,
Yeah.
you know her, she's very strong. And she was amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
she is amazing. She is amazing. How did you prepare for the surgery? How did you prepare yourself mentally? Or did you prepare? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
The
something you can even
surgery,
prepare for.
no, all along, what was the biggest fear for me was the chemo. Like, please, God, please don't let this be chemo. Just growing up, I heard, I don't know if it was so much in my family or the media or both, but cancer doesn't kill, chemo kills. And so I was just like, please,
Mm,
please don't let me have to go there. So I
yeah.
wasn't even thinking, and I didn't even care that, my one girlfriend said to me, God, you really didn't even think much about the fact that they were taking your boobs. I was like, yeah, no. I was like, just take them. As soon as I found out I had cancer, I was on speed dial. I'm like, let's get the surgery done like now.
Wow.
Um, so I really did not prepare that much for the surgery. I did do some searching on blogs and found out to like use an electric toothbrush afterwards because you don't have the upper mobility with your arms to I bought a recliner chair from like Bob's Discount because I needed to be propped up. But that was about it, you know. Other than that, it was more thinking about, please don't let it be chemo. And then it was chemo. And
Right.
then I prepared.
Right, right. Oh, goodness. Okay, so we're talking about boobs and breasts.
Mhm.
And you and I had this conversation as
Yeah.
well. You said to me, after the surgery, the reconstruction
Reconstruction surgery, which I just
surgery, right
had.
after the
Yeah.
reconstruction surgery, which was not long ago,
No, no.
like a month ago or so.
Yeah, it was in August. So, because I had radiation, I mean, I had like the kitchen sink thrown at me.
Yeah.
So uh, they removed the cancer and did the double mastectomy at the same time in July. And then I had the chemo. Then we did radiation. Then you had to wait 6 months to do this, the exchange of the implants, right?
Right.
I don't recall, but look, it was foggy. I was definitely kind of very on autopilot, just going through the motions. I don't recall anyone saying to me, you can go flat.
Mm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was silicone or saline. It wasn't, you can go flat. And I probably would have chosen to had implants, but just that wasn't discussed. And the
Mm.
reason that, I don't mind sharing this, that we had this conversation was I developed an infection, a minor infection after that surgery. It's like, oh my God, I get through
Yeah.
all of this. And
Yeah.
then I get this infection from these darn implants. Like I didn't have to be in this hospital. And I remember in the hospital crying, saying to this nurse, I didn't have to be here. I should not be here. It was because I
Yeah.
had these implants put in. Why was it not discussed more that I could go flat? And she goes, well, all the studies that we've done show that women want to go back to life as normal and back to their
Mm.
old life. And I looked at her through tears, I said, but it's never going to be normal again. It's never going to
Right.
be that life. So why even try that? Sherri, I also had a conversation with my OBGYN recently, and she said to me that her grandmother had breast cancer and was not given the choice. And she
Mhm.
just was flat. And it really upset her. And, that the reason they did this is because they really felt in the medical community that this is something that would help women psychologically. So I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. I just feel there
Right.
needs to be more discussion
Right.
around the option of going flat, that's okay.
Right. Especially because our women and our bodies and our breasts, we have some women have an attachment, some don't, but what are what we equate beauty with, right, is
Right.
feeling beautiful. Um, so when you said that to me at that moment, you were like, I didn't even think about going flat, and maybe I should have. Do you
Right.
still feel that way?
Hindsight's 2020, not so much anymore. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. Mm-mm. I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna go down there because this is where I am, and I'm
Yeah.
happy with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just made me think that should have
Yeah.
been more of a conversation.
I agree. I agree. And if anyone, we're live, so if anyone certainly has something that they want to share, something that resonates with you in this conversation. And Tina, again, my sister, I thank you
Yes.
for this open, honest conversation because I know it's tough. You've been through, and other women. Um, what kind of offering maybe can you give other women who have to hear the words, you have breast cancer?
Well, I was given these words and they really resonated with me, so I'll share them, and it was this: allow all of it and forgive everyone quickly. So allow all of the tears and all of the anger and anyone in your life that you're holding on to any ill will to, forgive them just right now.
Mm, mm. Uh, did
And there
you,
goes the plane.
yes, and there goes the plane. Hey, we're in, the culture of, I'm at my home. We're not in the studio. Uh, no surprise there. Um, so was that something that you found that cancer in a way opened a door for you in positive ways that you had not thought about
Oh,
pre-cancer, breast cancer?
oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, breast cancer is what I call my personal pandemic. I mean, we're in a global pandemic right now because it truly forced me. in some ways to release control. I had such a grip on control and such a rigidity around my life that things had to be a certain way. And even though I don't think I necessarily fully expressed myself that way all the time, it was internalized. That when that was released and all the worry that I placed over whether it was my son or my husband or myself or anyone close to me that I loved, by releasing that, it gave me a freedom of experiencing the moment, really
Yeah.
experiencing a moment. I feel as though I'm walking around with this secret now that, you can see
Mm.
everyone before the pandemic and you'd see them all lost in their phone, and you can tell people when they're, just they've got that frenetic thing going on. And it's almost like I have a secret, which is, it's all okay. It really is. And I don't even say that so much as like, it really just is all okay. All of it. Even with those, like, the debates the other night, I could see
Oh,
my husband getting
yeah.
all riled up, and I was just like, I am just gonna breathe through this and now walk away and turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would imagine you have a new appreciation for life, right? We have a question I want to Christy Rodriguez. She's, hey,
Oh,
Katina. Yeah, and
Christy!
she has a question. Okay, I gotta get closer to the screen. I'm gonna have to put my glasses on, people. Okay. What's the one thing, I know, don't laugh. What's the one thing or combo of things she thinks helped her, Tina, the most to get you through your cancer diagnosis? What helped you the most to get through your cancer diagnosis? This is
Well, Christy, since you
Christy's
asked,
question.
I love her. Uh Combo, amazing friends like you and Christy. Christy's in Ohio, and she had my back, man. Qigong. I do this specialized form of Qigong that was created for people who have medical ailments. And it's, even when I start to talk about it, I'm like, oh my God, this just sounds so freaking crazy. And I tell the guy that I work with, you are freaking nuts. This is nuts. However, every morning I would do the practice, and in the evening I would do the practice, and a sense of calm would come over me. That's
Mm.
been the biggest gift too, is the sense of calm that I feel. I had a cousin say to me when I was diagnosed, she was like, "Oh my God, you're doing so well. I mean, you're the queen of freak out." And I was like, "Okay, oh my God."
I'm not
Like,
gonna make any comment to that, Tina.
I
I
know,
won't.
I
I won't.
I guess I kind of knew I was the queen of freak out before, but never had it verbalized to my face, and then I was like, "Oh,
Right.
she's right. I am, or I was." So, yeah, that queen of freak out is no more. So, definitely do the qigong. My girlfriends, oh, there's something to be said of the power of women when they come together. We are a
Yeah.
force, and I think that I know we are recognizing that, and watch out, because things are changing. I mean, there's these small pods. I've got my group of women.
Yeah.
Shout out to 66 Days for Me, this group that I work with.
Okay, shout out 66 Days, and Tanya Jones is sending some love too.
Oh, she is
Hey, Tanya.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so the women have been amazing for me through this journey. My Qigong, allowing all of it, like Heidi shared with me in the beginning of this when I started, and forgiving, but allowing, and owning my truth as well. I think sometimes as women, we don't speak, or we say, I'm sorry so
Mhm.
often. We apologize for our thoughts or whatever the heck it is. That's been kind of annihilated.
Yeah. I want to say, hey, the women are with you. The men are here too. My cousin is here, Coach Kyle Hayes. He says, God bless you. God bless all the women
Thank
around the
you.
world who are going through their own personal cancer, breast cancer journey, and more power to you. Thank
Mhm.
you, Kyle. That's my cousin. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of love in the room. How do you, okay, let's, before we
Mhm.
forget, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to forget, but listen, a main conversation that I really want to talk about is chemo stories
Yes.
today. So this is why really I did this Facebook or YouTube live today, because I'm like, oh my goodness, you have launched it today. Your
Yes.
your
Woo!
special series, raw, honest, uncut. Tell us about chemo stories and why you created it.
So, Chemo Stories is a 15 episodes, a limited series podcast that's basically my journey through chemotherapy. And it started off as, I guess, an audio journal for myself. And then as I began to search more, I did not find first person stories in podcasts, which that's what I love is listening to podcasts. I have my own podcast for voiceovers called VO Stories. And so I just decided to create this podcast to hopefully help someone else who might be on this journey. And I was really lucky to have some amazing people help me with it. There's a woman named Elisa Stryker, who's an amazing editor and writer, and she worked with me. And
Thank you,
then,
Lisa.
yeah, yeah. I mean, really it was challenging at times to go through this. And then the pandemic afforded me during when we were in quarantine to really work on it. So it's my highs, my lows. It's my you know fears of going through cancer. It's
Mhm.
being a mom, motherhood
Mhm.
during chemotherapy, working during chemotherapy, all of it, as well as
Yeah.
coming through the other side of it.
And what did you learn from doing chemotherapy? I mean, chemo stories. And what did you learn from chemotherapy?
Right. Uh, what did I learn through chemo stories? I think that I'm still probably learning, but I think the biggest thing that I've gotten from chemo stories is that my story matters and that my
Mm,
voice matters. And
okay, I just had to.
love you.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's poetry. That's music to my ears. That's a snap right there. You know me, Tina.
I know. That's why I love you so much.
I love you too.
That's where probably if you're a human being, we all on some level question our voice. And I'm not talking about the sound of our voice. I'm talking about like, geez, does my voice matter in this world?
Yes.
And I'm here to say, if you are here and you are breathing, this is what I tell my son now. Your being, your voice, all of it is needed and matters. Not, and it's
Yes.
not about creating like the chemo stories wasn't, it just validated to me the human experience of the voice, the truth of me as a being matters as much as you, as much as the
Yeah.
next person.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So we have a question here from
Mhm.
your friend Molly Hardy. Hey,
Oh,
Molly.
she's
Hey,
an amazing
Molly.
writer. Yeah.
Oh, yes. So she said she has never seen you so free, live, and alive. And do you feel like you're living your purpose? Do you feel like you're living your purpose?
Yeah. Mhm. I do, and, the funny thing is I thought my purpose was supposed to be like, I'm a voiceover artist, I'm a mom, and my purpose, uh, now is I was such an appropriate question that Molly asked, because I was thinking about this today, and I was like, "I wanna change my byline in Instagram to say, I am a creator, I am a healer, and I am a person who inspires." And I was like, "Well, what the heck? You're not a healer." But I do
You
believe
are.
when you're living your truth, you liberate, and you help heal others. So yes, Molly, I do feel like I'm living my purpose. Although it's nothing you really put on a resume for a job interview.
Oh, yeah. Living your purpose is part of, I mean, I don't, listen, can you really give to any job or any relationship when you're not living your own truth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're not living authentically, which many of us are not, right? Or we have glimpses of that's our truth. Did cancer help you to uncover more of your true self?
Yes, and it was cancer and chemo stories, getting back to your question, because what I discovered was, and we're having this conversation all the time, or we're hearing about it in the media, the systemic, our systems that are there, whether it be that push down for racism or for women or whatever. I
Yeah,
became so kind of tuned into those systems and where I was as a woman and how I played into certain narratives that weren't my truth. And I, as you know, Sherri, like to dabble in the woo. I'm not new to the woo, which means I like to try alternative things to help heal not just my body, but my soul.
that's
So I
right.
worked with a medical intuitive, and that was really wild, Sherri, because she said to me, she did not know anything about me. I use my married name, which is Higgins, and my full name, which is Christina. So she could not, I guess if she wanted to, she could have really searched and discovered that, but I don't think she did. She's in Colorado. And she said to me, I didn't tell her I was a voiceover actor, but she said, "You have never felt comfortable with your voice and never felt heard." Something along those lines. I recorded it's in my podcast. And the women who came before you never felt like they were heard.
Mm,
And when she first said, "You've never felt heard, never felt like your voice was heard," or something, I felt this lump in my throat, and I knew that there was
mm,
some truth there. And then when she said, "And
mm,
all the women that came before you, they never felt heard," and I burst out sobbing. And
yeah.
what, where the hell did that come from? I mean, it was this uncontrollable sobbing. It was almost like it wasn't even my tears. It felt like it was tears for all the women that came before me. And what came to me was right when I was diagnosed, I asked my mother's cousins if they would all write a letter about my great aunties. I had 5 of them, and they were just the life of the party, and to me, they represented strength, charisma, confidence, and no one wrote a letter. One person wrote a letter, but it was about their mother, about the great auntie's mother, so my great-grandmother, and
Mhm.
what I realized through working with this medical intuitive was that my great aunties, while they were like the kind of kooky and the life of the party, due to the times and the systems that are set up and the culture, this Ukrainian culture that they were in, that my family's in, their
Yeah.
voices were shut and they could not speak their truth. So that's my long-winded way of saying through cancer and through chemo stories and this medical intuitive, I got my voice back. And I feel as though
Yes.
my aunties in some ways did too.
Yeah. So there you go. As Tanya Jones says, claim that healer. You
Mm,
are a healer. Your voice
mm,
heals.
thanks. Thank
Yeah. And we have to realize that healing takes different shapes and forms,
Yeah,
right? Sometimes we think of healing as you need to have this label on it. And,
right. A
and
white lab coat or something. Yeah. Or Dr.
or
Sherry.
exactly, exactly.
Yep.
Um, Speaking of healing and offerings, so I'm going to ask you for another offering
Hmm.
that you can give people that love um, people, their loved ones are going through their own personal cancer experience, whether it's breast cancer or just a cancer experience, but we'll focus on breast cancer. But um, what offering can you give people? Because oftentimes it's very difficult to know what to say, it's
Hmm.
difficult to know what to do. And we as family members, right, we can just piss people off because we're
Yeah.
not doing the right thing. And I'm sure you probably, experienced that a time or two.
A few, yeah.
Yeah.
So words to give to family members that have a loved one that's going through this is how they could support maybe that loved one.
Yes.
I well, 2 things. One, to ask. I
Mm.
How can I ask? Like, don't assume that this
Mhm.
is the way this person's going to want support just because this is how you would want support. Ask,
Mhm.
uh, and acknowledge that you can't imagine what that person's going through, and don't own their cancer. That was so interesting to me, Sherry, was, um, when you have the flu and you tell someone you have the flu,
Yeah.
no one's owning it going, "Oh, yeah, I have it too." But when you tell someone you have cancer, all of a sudden it becomes like their cancer too, and you're like, "Huh?" And
Yeah.
it's so don't own it. Allow that person to have their experience, provide space. Allow space. We
Allow space.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
okay to allow silence too.
Yeah. Allow space. Allow silence. And we get uncomfortable in
Yeah.
silence. We feel like as family members and as spouses, as especially our partners, right? We
Mhm,
want to fix the and our children,
mhm.
we want to fix it. And fixing it usually means for us either talking or doing for the other person, right?
Mhm.
So I think what you said, allowing space and
And
embracing the silence is important. Yeah.
not just allowing, but holding space.
Holding. Yes.
So really, and this doesn't have to be religious. This can just be just taking a moment to acknowledge that, if you believe in quantum physics, that there is energy all around here, and you're going to allow that energy just to be there and know that it will shift and that you don't have to do anything to make that shift, but just to allow it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How'd you get so smart, Miss Tina Zaremba?
Mhm. I got good people around me.
Yeah. So, what do you do now to take care of yourself? What are some of your self care practices? I mean, beyond, do you ever feel that you get stuck into the breast cancer journey? Do you label yourself again? Like you said, I walk around with this little secret. Do you allow yourself the freedom to move outside of that? Um, so, how do you take
Well,
care of you?
I don't, and everyone who's a survivor words this differently and has a different view. I don't necessarily um, proclaim, like, "Oh, I'm a survivor," and see myself going on saying, "Oh, I'm cancer free, I'm this or that," and having that be me. Um, on the day to day, it's very similar to when I was in chemo because of the world we're living in right now, right? So it's getting up in the morning and before my feet hit the ground, just giving gratitude for another day on this planet.
Yes. Yeah.
It's giving myself a moment of silence. It's doing my Qigong practice and then, starting off with the telelearning for my son and doing my work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you find yourself loving your life even more now and really loving
Mm.
those small moments and the things that were the times where you let work come before your
Mhm.
own self-care? Do you do that now?
Oh, yeah, and I catch myself much more when I go because it's easy to fall back into, right, old patterns die hard, so I can easily fall into, especially when I get, into a swirl of worry for no reason, uh, I can take moments, more quicker than I ever could before, where I just am able to, it's almost like I feel I have a superpower where I can just step outside of myself and observe my interaction and what's happening with my son. Just be like, "Oh, it's okay. Like, this
It's
doesn't
okay.
matter. It's all okay."
Yeah, it's all okay. It doesn't. So, what used to be minutia and important, you have now prioritized what really is important in your life.
I think so. Yeah. But look, Sherri, I mean, it doesn't have to happen where you go through. Uh, it was really extreme for me. I mean, it
Mhm.
was, I remember having this pivotal moment, taking a bath, and all my hair, I was completely bald. My whole body just looked completely different. I felt like Frankenstein. And looking over, not seeing my long hair in the bathtub and sobbing, but then just feeling after I like was wailing in the bathtub, feeling this like wave wash through me that somewhere along the line, I don't know when it happened, we humans forgot how amazing we are.
Mm.
You know, you see a child look at themselves, a really young child in the mirror, and they're just like, "Ha!" in love with
Mhm.
themselves, and they're just such a light.
Mhm.
But we got amnesia, and we forgot that. And we bought into this kind of conspicuous consumption and that
Mm.
it has to be hard and effort in order for it to matter. And we
Mhm.
have to go, 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 go. When in my experience, what I found in that moment of the bath was that releasing, that breathing and exhaling, and surrendering to what was in that moment, which was complete
Mm.
terror, and allowing that terror to be there and not
Mm.
resisting it, but and not even calling it terror, but just feeling every ounce of it go through my cells. That through that, coming out of that other side of it, now I still was bald, I still felt like I looked like a Frankenstein. There was a sense of peace and, this weird way, it was like my glasses were, very clear, these glasses that you can't see,
Yeah.
and I could just see for myself and for others close to me how we've just bought into and forgot who we are, and we've made things matter that don't they don't need to matter. Like, really, we're getting ourselves all
Mhm.
worked up like little kids that
Yeah.
are 5 and 6 and 7 having temper tantrums.
Yeah, and we feel those temper tantrums feel real in that moment. They do, right? Many
Right.
times.
Yeah, and that's fine, but I think what happens is we get stuck in them and we get defined by them
And we
versus
get
just
defined.
riding it,
Right.
riding the emotion of it and not being
Yeah.
swallowed by it.
Right. And being able to feel it and to be able to move on from it. Some of us
Mhm.
get stuck in that place.
Right.
Are there any organization? Well, before I even ask about
Mhm.
organizations or foundations, I want to go back to your chemo fear,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
chemo terror.
yeah, your chemo terror, like anything but chemotherapy. Well, you went through it and you made it. You got to the other side of that.
Mhm.
Um, Tell us about that chemotherapy journey. Was the fear, um, well, of course, the fear is warranted because the fear is there.
Right.
But how did you deal with that fear?
Uh-huh.
And how did you really put the fear in your rear view mirror while you were in chemotherapy, or did you?
No, it wasn't in the rear view mirror. I mean, it was kind of always there. It started to lessen, but I mean, it was definitely really intense. I
Mhm.
lined up, so I guess that part of me that liked to plan like down to the T right
Mhm.
before chemotherapy. That was good because I mean, I really prepared. It was like I was preparing for Y2K. Those of you remember, going into the year 2000 and how everyone thought the world was going to explode. That's what it was like. I got, everything that you could possibly need if you were going to have diarrhea and everything that you could possibly need if you were going to throw up. I mean, boxes on wholesale from Amazon. Like, oh my God, what am I going to
Tina,
do
I
with all this?
literally could see your house right now. You guys,
Oh, I had the
Tina, like
shelving
I could
unit.
see the stockpiles.
And the rice, because you should have
Yeah.
bland rice, right? If you have an
Yeah.
upset stomach. The Jinjin chews, I read Jinjin chews are good. So I just didn't get like one box. I got like 5 or 6 huge boxes of all these friggin' Jinjin chews. So that helped some because that made me feel like, all right, I'm doing something here to help. And then I was able to get people like women who would come. I wanted women to go with me to chemotherapy. So I lined all that up and that was amazing and beautiful. I did acupuncture every week. And I was lucky enough to work with a gentleman who is a doctor at Sloan, where I got my cancer treatment,
Mhm.
and a Chinese doctor of Chinese medicine.
Mhm.
And he is Dr. Mao. I just had a session with him this telehealth today. So it's just amazing, man. Amazing. The day before my first chemo, I saw him and I just broke down crying. And he took my hand and he said, "Tina, um, look me in the eyes. I am honored to be on your team. And I have seen many women through this, and you will get through this. And I
Mhm.
will help you get through this." She's like, "Oh."
Mhm.
So having these teachers and they would just show up and be there along the way. That medical intuitive was amazing. Paul, the Qigong, and then, connecting with other survivors. All of that helped me move through this.
That is
And then
beautiful.
I had a mantra when I was doing this writing and doing chemo stories. The tagline of every podcast is my name's Tina Zaremba and I'm searching for strength, grace, and trust. And that was what I
Mm.
wanted, was to get through this with strength, grace, and trust. And you know what I found out? It was already there. Just
It was
had been like,
already inside of you.
it's so cliche, you hear
It's
that it was always inside of you, but it's true. It's really true. It's
yes,
there. I'm telling you, I went through chemotherapy. You don't have to. It's there. It's already there. So just stop. It's like, we got to make it such a problem for some reason. Oh no, I got to go searching. I got to hire this and do that. And, and I did all that. I hired everybody. I did every freaking thing. And I was like, oh, it was there.
it's inside of you already.
Yeah.
Dorothy, you're already home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm checking in to see if we have any more questions or comments. So again, we are live. If you have any other questions, comments for Tina, as she is truly sharing this personal experience, and we honor that because it's not easy. It's not easy. Yeah. You're an amazing human being, Tina Zaremba.
Oh, I love you. Thank you for coming with me to my treatment. My God, that one treatment you came to, you went out for like just a little bit to get a green juice,
To get a green juice.
an
And all hell
overpriced.
broke loose when I came back.
I had a reaction to the
Yes.
Benadryl, and oh my God, that was crazy.
Yeah. What is on the horizon for you? What is on the horizon for you now?
Mm. Girl, I mean, before all this, I probably would have given you my list, my 5-year plan, but now
Yeah.
I'm just sort of riding the wave. Obviously, still continuing on with voiceovers and loving that. Still continuing on being a mom and a wife.
Please continue. I know Jack is happy about it, right? Thank you. Michael, I'm
And
sure he's happy too. Here, you
yes,
continue being a wife. Yeah.
hopefully. And sometimes in this COVID land, he's probably like, oh, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
having more projects come out.
What kind of work do you want to focus on now? Like, as we transform, As we evolve as human beings, whatever experiences that we're going through, what kind of work do you want to put your energy? Where do you want to put your energy and
Oh
focus?
my gosh. Well, obviously, I want to put my energy around work that lends itself to utilizing my voice, but utilizing my voice in a way that can really make an impact. So I was lucky
Mm,
enough to do some political spots for Joe Biden, and that was amazing. And that was something I really loved doing. But I also
yeah.
feel like women's projects are exciting to me, and having more women in the creative space and collaborating with women
Mm,
is something that I really want to do more of.
mhm.
And Christy, who had that question, she and I have a group of women that we hold each other accountable for creating new habits, and that's been fun. So finding new ways to create with women. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Having an accountability partner
Hmm.
is key. That's huge. We
Yeah.
all need that, really.
Mhm.
So let's talk about foundations.
Yes.
How have you found any that you're supporting yet, or do you know of? We had a little brief conversation about this, and I know you want to do some more research on it, and so tell us.
Right. And the reason why I said I want to do more research is because s- a lot of times with organizations, you can give a donation and that money will be not going specifically to the research. It will be going to various other administrations or heads that need a paycheck kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I am still researching that. That said, two organizations that they're smaller, but I truly love. One is the Lobular Breast Cancer Association. So it's lbca.org, or
Okay.
Lobular Breast Cancer Alliance.org. And that was the type of cancer that I have, is lobular, and there's not a lot of research done on it. And the money that you donate goes strictly to research uh, purposes, as well as providing information to women who have lobular, so that they can be informed, because there's just not a lot
Okay.
out there. And then breastcancer.org uh, is a place where you can not only find information, but you can, if you are someone who is a breast cancer patient and you want to connect with other women, you can go there and you can read about anything from medications to hear what's going on, with certain medication you might be on that someone else is taking, or hear survivor stories. That was really why I used breastcancer.org, is I would go in
Mhm.
there and I would type in positive cancer survivor stories, and then I
Mhm.
would screenshot, and I created a folder, because I found myself in the beginning going down Google and, like, I'm not a doctor, but I would just, like, go into Google and type my diagnosis, and then I'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna be dead next year." And
Oh,
because it's
yeah.
scary
The
what's out there, right?
self-diagnosis. Yeah, that's scary. Yeah.
So, I highly recommend, if you've been diagnosed with breast cancer, not to search on Google, because a lot of times, like my oncologist said, the latest research isn't out there yet in
Mhm.
the World Wide Web.
Mhm.
And you can fall into misinformation. It's not healthy. So I put parameters and said, I'm just going to put down positive cancer long-term survivor stories, and then just screen grab that for myself. But that's a
Yeah.
wonderful organization, is breastcancer.org.
Breastcancer.org. And
Mhm.
you know what, dreamers and viewers, when I get better at this YouTube live and all that, I'll be typing up the banner like right away and putting it up. But since I'm not there quite yet, uh, breastcancer.org. Tina, how can we? I did think I had the banner at least for your chemo stories. Tell us where we can get
Yeah,
to have access to chemo stories because
absolutely.
I
So it's
can't see it.
chemostories.com. Chemostories.com. And you can
Easy enough
learn,
to remember. Yeah.
yep, about me at tinazaremba.com.
Okay.
There's me.
TinaZaremba.com. Tina,
Sherri.
You are a blessing.
Right, Becca. Yeah.
And, you know, I've said this before to you, Tina. Literally, you are always putting other people before yourself.
Oh, thanks.
And even during this time of you going through your surgery, even through going, through COVID, which obviously to be in a hospital and you are already, in surgery and the stress level of just this time and the pandemic, you still were managed to put together a group of women, and I was included in that group of women, to talk about voiceovers, racism, and beyond. So this woman right here is not only a cancer survivor, a talented actor, mom, wife, but she is just really a radiant beam of light.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you are impacting the world, and you already have. And you're going to continue to do that. And I'm going to claim it right here on Dreamers Unite for many, many, many years to come.
I'll take it.
Yes, I will too. And before we go, hey, listen, people, please subscribe, okay? Follow us at Dreamers Unite Show on Instagram, on Facebook. We are soon to have our page up, which will be at Dreamers Unite Show as well. Hit that subscribe button for more uplifting, elevating, educating, and entertaining content. And I am always grateful to be here and to spend time with you, dreamers, and to spend time with you, viewers. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Tina, any final closing words before we sign off?
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
Let's leave people with something juicy. Let's leave them with something juicy before we sign off.
Okay, so this was a screensaver of mine, and I shared it with another woman who's now a survivor. And I'm going to share it with anyone out there who, whether they have been diagnosed with breast cancer or have any other type of challenge in their life. And you can change the she to a he if you're a male. And it's this: let me tell you a story. She makes it. The end. Love you.
That for you, Tina. I love you too. Thank you again, dreamers. And I'll see you again next time.